What's up, all my movie-loving maniacs? This your boy Bangful B of the Lassiter Factor, and today I'm going to talk about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which was released in theaters this weekend, and it is my number 3 most anticipated film of 2025, so of course I went to go see it, so let's review. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is the 8th and supposed final film of the Mission Impossible series. It's also part 2 to the last film, Dead Reckoning, in which Ethan Hunt, he continues his mission in trying to stop the rogue AI known as the Entity. At the start of 2025, I've been periodically revisiting all the Mission Impossible movies up until now. If you want to know my thoughts on each film, check out all of my reviews. All you just gotta do is just keep scrolling and you'll see my review. I didn't do an in-depth review, I just posted my rating of each film and a couple of thoughts here and there. Generally speaking, over the years, the Mission Impossible franchise is one of those franchises that I've just grown to love over the years because each film has gotten progressively better with each film. This is definitely Tom Cruise's franchise. This is definitely the franchise that made him a movie star. And it's always fun just to see what kind of crazy ass stunt his old ass is about to do in each film. As far as this being part 2 to the last film, Dead Reckoning, which at the time was called Dead Reckoning Part 2, but they just retitled it Dead Reckoning, and this film is just called The Final Reckoning instead of Dead Reckoning Part 2. But I did like Dead Reckoning Part 1, but I did say that I do want to see how this movie is compared with part 1 and see how it all works together as a two-part saga. Two-part finale, I should say. Now that we have The Final Reckoning, how do I feel? Just about how everybody else feels about this movie, and that is, I liked it, but didn't quite love it. But before I get into why this movie was slightly underwhelming for me, let me point out all the things I did like about this movie. I mean, this movie has no shortage of crazy-ass stunts that Tom Cruise does in this movie. Like, there's an entire sequence of him just trying to infiltrate a submarine that's been sitting there for over 13 years, and he's in his pressurized suit so that he can breathe, and there is almost no dialogue whatsoever. Just the scene is very long, but it had me on the edge of my seat the whole time because these series of circumstances just keep happening, and you just hoping for Ethan Hunt to get out of this situation. I did like the plane fight at the end of the movie, as you can see in this poster right here. There's no shortage of Tom Cruise running in this movie, because trust me, there is a lot of them. For Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt in this movie, I mean, at the beginning of this movie, they do this very profound and fitting send-off to the character. Not sending him off into the movie, but like just basically a whole reflection of Tom Cruise's 30-year tenure within this franchise. I remember watching them like, damn, this franchise really has been going on for that long and has gotten progressively better with each film. It's not just the Tom Cruise show. One of the strengths about this franchise is the focus on team, and they do have a huge emphasis on the team within this movie, particularly Luther. I ain't gonna say much, but just moment of silence, because other than Tom Cruise, Ving Rhames' Luther is the only character that has been consistently within each movie. He's the one that has been there from the very beginning, and just what they do with his character. I thought Benji had a surprisingly bigger role in this movie. Not necessarily a role that overtook the movie, but hit a bigger role within the team in this franchise. Atwell was a new character that was introduced in the last movie, Dead Reckoning, and though I kind of like her journey in the first movie, I do like where she's at in this movie. Plus, I don't mean to be that guy, but Haley Atwell is just always fun to look at. Clementine returns as Paris within this movie. She was also introduced in the last movie, and she had a big role in the last movie, but she has an even bigger role here in which she is a part of the team, and I love what they did with her here. And Clementine, well, forgive me if I mispronounce her last name, but she was awesome in this movie. It's fun just seeing her play Mantis in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then watching her here, she is definitely one to watch in terms of action filmmaking. Wiggum, who was also introduced in the last movie, I really loved what they did with this character here because he's kind of connected to some of the other movies. I'm not going to spoil how, but when you watch, you'll be like, oh. To me, it just recontextualized the last movie for me and why he was after Ethan in the first place, other than he was just ordered to. Bassett, who was the head of the CIA in Mission Impossible Fallout, returns in this movie, and she is the president of the United States and has an even bigger role in this movie. And Angela Bassett, other than the fact that she is my queen, she is always great in whatever you put her in, and she definitely elevated this movie to what it needed to be. This side, Morales returns as a villain in this movie, and this is where I transition into the things I had a problem with in this movie. And him as a villain is definitely one of them. And while he's definitely not the best villain within the Mission Impossible movies, I give that to Philip Seymour Hoffman in the third movie. But him here, I was really hoping that they would delve into his past and why he's so integral to Ethan Hunt's past in the last movie, because they hardly touched on it, but they hardly touch on it here. At the end, he just turned out to be your typical mustache trolling villain. Entity itself, I mean, it has a presence, but at the same time, they don't really put too much emphasis on it. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's other returning characters from other movies that I did not expect to see in this movie, and there's also callbacks that even the diehard fans of this franchise will appreciate. In fact, they connect to other movies in ways that I did not expect. Some, it might be a negative, but for people like me that have seen all these movies and paid real close attention to all of them, you will appreciate them. I really did enjoy this movie, but I didn't quite love it because, one, it just didn't feel like a fitting send-off to this series. It just felt like your typical Mission Impossible movie. Granted, it is a bit darker and somber than some of the other ones, but still, it just didn't hit me right here. This movie is way too long. In fact, this movie and the last movie, I can easily see how they could have cut some stuff out and put these two movies together to make it a more fun and cohesive movie and not feel like it was stretched out just so the studio can have two more movies and call it a two-part finale. But part two, this movie, The Final Reckoning in particular, I just feel like it was just more bloated than it was in the last one, because I felt like, yeah, you need part two to appreciate part one, but at the same time, I still felt like part one, Dead Reckoning, felt like its own little story. Ultimately, if you watch this movie, I recommend you watch it on an IMAX screen, but if you happen to skip out on this, I don't blame you, but at the same time, it's still a fun movie. I just wish it could have done just a little bit more to be a fitting send-off to the franchise as a whole. I mean, granted, they say this is the final film, but hey, it's Hollywood. Anything could happen, baby. I'm going to give Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning a very mid thumbs up emoji. In case you're wondering, this is where I rank The Final Reckoning amongst all the other Mission Impossible movies. This right here, I guess you consider it my final ranking of the Mission Impossible movies. And yes, that's right, I prefer the first part, Dead Reckoning, over The Final Reckoning. Because, like I said, I just feel like Dead Reckoning, even though it is a part one, I feel like it was a complete story. That's it for today. Have you seen Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning? If so, let me know what you think in the comment section below, and also tell me where would you rank this film amongst the other Mission Impossible movies. It's your boy Bankful B of the Lassiter Factor. Stay safe, wash your hands, peace.